Conditions May Apply by CinnamonPinecones. Read by Distracted by Books. Chapter 19. You are my dad. You're my dad! Boogie woogie woogie. Tsukauchi was getting run ragged. He knew how active Ivy was in theory, but in practice, it felt like his phone was buzzing off his desk constantly. How the hell did Ivy do this? He'd been working the night shift for the past 2.5 years, and his lifeblood was coffee because of it. But at least he got paid. Ivy had to have some sort of day job on top of their vigilante-ing, because being a vigilante obviously didn't pay the bills if Tsukauchi had to pick up for their phone. He was starting to wonder if Ivy was on drugs, because that was the only explanation for that much energy. He hadn't been able to operate on that little sleep since he was in high school, pulling all-nighters just because he could. Oh, shit. So that left two options. One, Ivy was cracked out of their gourd. Or two, Ivy was actually a child with boundless energy. Tsukauchi wasn't sure which option was preferred at this point. He was very much hoping for a secret third option of Ivy somehow made it into adulthood with their childlike hyperactivity intact. It was possible, but this just added credence to the reports of Ivy being a child. He really needed to see them in person, but they weren't going to show themselves, and they clearly traveled by rooftops, which is why Tsukauchi had never caught a glimpse of them in his trips to Uptown. He couldn't exactly go running around on rooftops to look for them either, but if they were a child, he couldn't just wait around trying to gain their trust. He needed to get eyes on them as soon as possible. They were bringing in more and more gang members with each passing day. They were painting a target on their own back, and either they didn't know the danger they were putting themselves in, or they didn't care. Tsukauchi couldn't follow them around the rooftops to make sure they were safe, but he knew someone who could. Shota had been patrolling the same district since he graduated. An old friend used to live around here, so he kept an eye out on the area for them. Maybe it was more than a little sentimental. Sue him. If his buddy wasn't around to watch the streets, then he could do it for him. He owed him that much. So when Tsukauchi called him, asking if he could shift his patrol to a neighboring district, he was not taking up the request with any sort of enthusiasm. Why exactly do you want me to do that? He grumbled. The city has my hands tied, along with all the local hero agencies, and I know you're a little more freelance. The place is run to the ground, and, he trailed off. And, what, Tsukauchi? He had a feeling he wouldn't like where this was headed. Tsukauchi wasn't usually one to beat around the bush. Well, there's the vigilante running around trying to clean up the place, the detective continued. Okay, and why is that my problem? Sounds like you've already got someone taking care of your business, he said, rolling his eyes. Yeah, that's what I thought too, and they're doing a pretty good job of it. It's just, well, a few of the people they brought in claimed they were a child. Yep, there it was. Shota did, in fact, not like where this was headed. What do you mean, a child? Reports say they are quite small and had a childlike voice, though some people claimed they were a woman. We aren't exactly sure, and I'm not permitted to get feet on the ground out there. And even if I was, they seem to travel via rooftops, so I was hoping that was where you could come in. Tsukauchi responded rather sheepishly. So you want me to go out there and apprehend the only person keeping that district in line because they might be a child? No, well, officially, yes, but unofficially, no. I just want to make sure they're safe. They've been tackling the local gang, and that's going to paint a target on their back. Whether they don't know that or don't care, I'm not sure, but either way, they are putting themselves at risk. And if they are a child, then I can't just stand by and let them get themselves killed. Damn it. Yeah, okay. You owe me big time, though, he said with a groan. I already let you use the good coffee maker in my office. I'd say this makes us even, no? Tsukauchi shot back, voice dripping with sarcasm. He thought he was real funny. Yeah, okay, I owe you, Tsukauchi conceded. When and where should I look for them? Do you have any sort of description to go off of? They are short and wear a dark green jacket and a voice modulating mask, but I don't think there's too many people throwing themselves around the rooftops, so you'll probably know when you see them. As for when and where, I'm not sure. Their patrols seem completely random. They could be anywhere in Uptown, but they are out every night. So I'd say just poke around and you'll run into them eventually, he supplied. Great. As little information as possible. All right. I'll shift my patrol starting tonight. You're welcome, he said, hanging up without waiting for a response. Izuku was pissed. Someone who is not me is running along the rooftops at night, scooping up criminals in my streets, and I bet it's that damn narc's fault. 10 months of patrolling without seeing another soul lurking on the same streets, and now, a few weeks after I get in contact with this detective, someone shows up. Nuh-uh. Nope. I'm not gonna let some hero come in here and arrest every lawbreaker they see. There won't be anyone left. You can't survive out here as a law-abiding citizen. Loitering, pickpocketing, the rich idiots or assholes walking through town, dumpster diving, and stealing from chain stores are technically illegal, but I'm not going to let some hero take my people in for that. They're doing what they have to do to survive, just like I am. He was pacing in front of the dumpster, ranting to DJ. He'd been fuming like this for nearly a half hour, and apparently DJ was sick of it because she reached a paw out and hooked her claws into Zuku's shirt sleeve, forcing him to stop and look at her. Oh, don't give me that look, DJ. They could arrest all the ladies too, and then there goes most of my friends. Ah! Izuku tried to continue his pacing, but DJ held firm. He glared at her. What? She glared back. I'm going to chase him out of town. Meow. DJ responded. I'm choosing to believe that was a meow of approval, he said without breaking eye contact. Now let go of me. I've got some hero's ass to kick out of town. She did not let go, so Izuku grabbed her paw and unhooked the claws himself, causing DJ to bap him with her other paw. She looked rather disgruntled about getting her paws manhandled, but Izuku was out of bapping distance by the time she could strike again. I've got to go, DJ. This hero could arrest you too for being a menace to society, he threatened over his shoulder before setting out to the streets. Izuku had only heard of this mysterious hero running around Uptown from the locals. He had yet to actually see them himself. But that was going to change tonight. He headed to the tallest building in the district just as night was starting to fall over the city. If there was anyone on these rooftops, Izuku would see them, so he kept his post and waited. Holy shit, that was Eraserhead. Holy shit, that was Eraserhead, and he was headed straight for the rooftop Izuku was on. Izuku was freaking out. Holy shit, that was Eraserhead, headed straight for him. Holy shit, holy shit, holy shit. No. No. That was the hero that was encroaching on his territory, and he was headed straight for the rooftop that Ivy was on, not Izuku. Play it cool. There's no way he spotted you yet. He's not after you. He's probably headed here for the same reason you did, to get a better view. Calm down. Ivy hid themselves in the shadows. This is exactly what they wanted, and Eraser was delivering himself straight to them. This was a good thing. They adopted a casual stance, leaning against the shaded wall to the roof access stairwell, and waited. Shota had spent his last 3 patrols in the red lights district and saw no sign of Ivy. Tsukauchi said that he'd received calls each night and sent him the location immediately, but he'd yet to have seen them. The wandering around until he bumps into them tactic was not working, so tonight he was going to stake out on the highest vantage point he could find. That was the plan, but it looks like someone had already beat him to it. Thank Kami, this was getting annoying. In the shadow of the stairwell, a short figure stood watching him despite his silent touchdown. They had likely been tracking his progress from up here because they didn't look surprised to see him. Ivy, I presume, he greeted. In the flesh, Eraser, what are you doing on my streets? A low, robotic voice shot back. That was odd. It's not often he was recognized, though. It was also not often he confronted vigilantes on rooftops. He hadn't been hiding for the past 3 patrols. Maybe Ivy had done their research on him which was mildly concerning, since they seemed to be using their knowledge to subtly threaten him. He could meet that energy. Your streets, huh? Legally, I have more reason to be here than you. What makes these your streets? He jabbed back. Ivy gave up on their relaxed posture and pushed off the wall, glaring at him. Answer the question, Eraser. Why are you here? Did Tsukauchi send you? They spat out. They knew Tsukauchi? What the hell was that bastard not telling him about this case? Well, if Tsukauchi wouldn't tell him, maybe Ivy would. He could play dumb. Who's Tsukauchi? And who says anyone sent me? I'm patrolling. That's my job. He replied dryly. Something about that made Ivy laugh. Don't lie to me, Eraser. You've been patrolling the neighboring district for a decade, and a few weeks after that detective contacts me, you just decide to shift into my territory? Unlikely. No one, hero or police, has patrolled here in ages, and you expect me to believe you're just shaking things up for fun? I don't buy it. So tell me, why are you here? Okay, that was officially more than anyone should know about him, and they were angry. He knew next to nothing about them and had no clue what they knew about him. Stupidly, he hadn't thought for a second that Ivy would be a threat, and he came up here with his guard down. Shota was meticulous about his online presence. He had the opposite of a standard PR team, who made sure any trace of his hero persona was scrubbed from public record. So that meant that Ivy either got this information by word of mouth or direct observation. Shota wouldn't say he was fully threatened, but he did have his guard up now. He wasn't getting anywhere by riling them up. You're well read up on me, aren't you? You're right. Tsukauchi sent me. Said you were a kid and wanted me to check up on you. He replied honestly, hoping to gain a little trust. Ha! A kid. Oh, does Suka care about widow old me? They said with mock endearment, before their expression and tone turned on a dime. How touching. Tell him I'm fine, and scram. He could understand Ivy being wary of him for their own sake. He had every right to arrest them right now, but they didn't seem scared, so they were just angry, a protective kind of angry. If they were trying to protect themselves, then they could have just kept up the cat and mouse game they'd been playing, but they hadn't. They were confronting him head on. So either they were confident enough that he couldn't catch him, or they weren't worried about themselves at all. They were hiding something they deemed more important than themselves. They had no mutant quirk. That much was obvious. It was unlikely they had a quirk he couldn't counter. His chances in a fight seemed favorable. They were tiny. The only thing they could have on him was speed. He could afford to poke the bear. You seem both threatened and brash, putting up a front. What are you trying to hide, Ivy? I hide a lot of things. You'll have to be more specific. They responded coolly, not rising to the bait. They were going to make him spell it out for them. Vague questions were getting vague answers. There's a reason you don't want me here, and given the fact that you were waiting up here for me, it doesn't seem like it's for your own sake. So what is it? If not for your own safety, then, logically speaking, you should have no problem with me being here. We're working toward the same goal, are we not? He elaborated. Ivy scoffed. Working towards the same goal? I'm here, not here to enforce the law, Eraser. I'm here to keep people safe. They are not the same thing, and I don't trust you to know the difference. And why's that? I've seen a hero take down someone's shoplifting baby formula. I don't exactly consider that justice. Things work differently around here, and I'm not going to let you run rampant, arresting everyone you see breaking the law. They shot back. He'd definitely riled them up again. That was quite the nuanced take. That type of critical thinking was the same thing he'd had to beat into his students' skulls. Maybe it was an issue of privilege, or maybe Ivy was old enough for that type of wisdom. Maybe he could bait them just a bit more. Well then, tell me how things work around here. I don't see things in black and white, kid. I'm sure I can catch on, Shota said with a sneer. All right, just 'cause I'm short doesn't mean you can call me kid, Ivy said back with cool anger in their tone. You're not denying being a kid, though. Shota set the trap. I'm not going to give you identifying information, Eraser. If you think I'm a kid, that's not my problem. And Ivy ran away with the cheese. Damn it. Whatever. You going to tell me how things work around here then? I'm not leaving, so either I go out there with my own rules or yours, if they're logical. Good cop and bad cop weren't working, so we might as well just tell the truth. Ivy stepped back to the ledge of the roof and hopped up. If you're not leaving Uptown, then you're also not leaving my sight. So do try and keep up, they said, before dramatically stepping off the other side of the ledge. End of chapter.